When we get into this video, keep in mind that Dan Wooton had access to absolutely everything we had access to. He was watching on real time the court case develop in the United States. And this is what he wrote. So for those of you who are happy that he's been absolved, keep this in mind, because guess what was the first thing that Dan Wooton did when he was accused of, you know what he was accused of. He asked the judge to issue a gag order to all reporters and the news so they wouldn't report on his story, because he claimed that it would be damaging to his reputation and livelihood. So he basically didn't want other newspapers and reporters to do to him what he did to Johnny Depp. And I know many of you are happy because, oh my God, he criticizes Meghan. So let's get on to this so we can figure out what really is going on and how innocent, and should we really be happy for Dan Wooton. You know that you come to my channel, I'm going to give you my opinion, and you know, I'm always happy to learn and to see that I'm wrong. I was doing my live today with Dina from the Aftermath, and one of my very nice subscribers said, oh, Dan Wooton has apologized. So I'm going to give you my answer, Queenie, right now. And this is why I'm doing this video. And until you find the apology that you claim Dan Wooton issued to Johnny Depp, I will believe that this is my opinion. There are even TikToks that have been made asking. There's been change.org organizations, petitions done to demand that Dan Wooton apologizes to Johnny Depp. But just like Meghan, Dan Wooton much rather die at the cross than to admit he committed something terrible against another human being, that he was wrong. So let's get into this video. Dios mío, why aren't you following me on Facebook? I have over 90,000 subscribers here. All you have to do is go to the Facebook page so we can do long lives there, just in case, you know. It's always good to have another platform, given how much censorship is ongoing. So yes, go and click on the link in the pinned comment, or go to the video description. The link is there for you to follow me on Facebook. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you're still subscribed. Okay, and click the notification bell so you're reminded whenever I come on. Thanks always, guys. You know, your support means a lot to me. Thank you very much. As I said before, I am glad for Dan Wooton that he was able to prove, or he was cleared of being prosecuted by the United Kingdom Crown Court and the police. I'm glad for him. I'm sure he must be feeling a huge relief. But and it's amazing again, because he asked the judge to issue a gag order to reporters and news, to people like him, so they wouldn't report on him, because he knows better than anybody what an article will do, what a newspaper print, what an online article will do to the reputation of somebody. I know it firsthand. So let's get into this. And please keep in mind that he has not to this day taken any of this back nor apologized. This article was written on April 29th, 2022. Okay? And it says, Dan Wooton, Johnny Depp is not a victim of cancel culture. He spent years trying to cancel Amber Turd and me. This farce of a trial is designed to ruin his ex-wife, but won't erase the damning judgment against him. April 29th, 2022. I'm sorry, my face is really red. It's just lupus, guys. You know, it's just the butterfly. It's gone down a little bit. So I apologize if you feel grossed up a little bit, okay? I can't put any makeup on. I really can't. I apologize for that. This is Dan Wooton, after dragging my ass through the high court for 2 years, which resulted in a humiliating loss for him and complete vindication for me, I genuinely intended to never talk about Johnny Depp again. Now, let's not forget that the courts in the United Kingdom ruled in favor of the newspapers based on Amber Heard's testimony because they believed she had donated the money given to her by Johnny Depp to charity, which we now know is false. But that was pretty much why they summed it up, because they figured that Amber Heard had nothing to lose or gain because she was never in it for the money, which turned out to be false. I actually feel sorry for the former Hollywood icon who has become a pathetic excuse of a man. A human being with so much, all the money in the world, access to the most influential people, children who love him, fans who will stick with him through literally any form of documented and probably bad behavior, including abuse of a female partner, has become consumed with an overwhelming and uncontrollable desire for revenge at any cost. And there comes a picture of him with Amber Heard hugging and laughing. Not Johnny Depp, Dan Wooton. Dan Wooton with Amber Heard, his reporting was backed by a November 2020 court ruling. And again, this was in the UK, and the ruling was based largely on the false testimony that Amber Heard, that she had donated all the money. And what does one thing have to do with the other? Because the courts believed that she had no reason to lie because she was never in it for the money, because she had donated all the money, which was a lie. Ruining his ex-wife, Amber Heard, is his goal. No matter how much it costs, how many lives it destroys, and how much it taints his own reputation forevermore. But after watching the vile court case develop in the US over the past couple of weeks, I feel morally compelled to speak out. If this man was watching the same court case that we all were, from the within 3 days, you would know it was all a sham, especially when you see Amber Heard being deposed and give her, you guys know I'm a victim, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and we just know. And even if you're not, you can tell, because a completely incorrect narrative is developing that Depp is somehow the victim of cancel culture, a vile trend spreading like a plague through the Western world that I deplore and spend my professional life campaigning against. The suggestion is farcical, given this entire mess is of Depp's own making. So he is re-victimizing a man who has been brutally victimized all over the world, first by that woman and then by that article he published in 2018. If anything, he canceled himself. In April 2018, the now infamous column I wrote in my former newspaper, The Sun, which referred to the actor as a wife beater. And this is what Johnny Depp was fighting, because he didn't want his kids growing up and believing or living with that horrible thing that Dan Wooton did. In an online headline was actually about J.K. Rowling's hypocrisy for backing Depp over Amber while claiming to be a proponent of the Me Too movement. While I believed it to be an important piece of work, it would have been soon forgotten if it had insisted on suing me for reporting overwhelming evidence was filed to show Johnny Depp engaged in domestic violence against his wife, Amber Heard. To me, that was indisputable. And in a November 2020 ruling, Judge Justice Nicol, who sat through 16 days of harrowing evidence at the Royal Courts of Justice in London, including from Depp and Heard themselves, agreed what I'd written was substantially true. No, that's not true. Specifically, he found that 12 of the 14 incidents of domestic violence by Depp against Amber Heard had occurred. Again, the judge believed it based on the word of Amber Heard, thinking that she had no financial reason to be with Johnny Depp, that she deeply loved him, and that if she got out of there without asking for money or no money for herself, then her word was credible. Because in domestic violence, many times, especially with Amber Heard, where she never presented anything other than that little bruise that, whoever, she probably changed it within the next day, was gone. It was her word against Johnny's. In a damning conclusion, Justice Nicol wrote, taking all the evidence together, I accept that she was the victim of sustained and multiple assaults by Mr. Depp in Australia. We have seen Amber Heard's testimony, how it fell apart in the United States. And again, what a poor, shitty justice system the United Kingdom courts have. I mean, hell, they believed Meghan Markle when she said she misremembered tons of email exchanges between her and her then another skank, Jason Kanoff. I really don't like Jason Kanoff. He added, I accept her evidence of the nature of the assault he committed against her. They must have been terrifying. And of course, they must have been, because there was no physical evidence whatsoever of any assault. Crucially, he also rejected claims by Depp that Amber is a gold digger. So categorical was the verdict that Depp was later denied an appeal in order to pay my legal costs. Any sane individual would have accepted the ruling and attempted to clean up their act and move on with their life. But Depp simply moved the sideshow to the United States. He's suing Amber for an article she wrote in the Washington Post that he says implied he was violent towards her, even though she never included his name in the column. But why would that matter? Why would that matter if there was already a court ruling in the United Kingdom saying that Depp was abusive? Then why didn't Amber just say his name? Depp is banking on celebrity justice because this is a jury trial where his star power could influence the verdict. I mean, this guy is just as bad as Elaine, Amber Heard's lawyer. And once again, completely against her will. Oh my God, against her will, Amber Heard. Amber is being forced to have the details of a toxic relationship she has long wanted to move on from make international headlines for weeks on end. But it's worse than what's going on inside the courtroom. Amber has been subjected to inhuman attacks by a group of sick individuals called the Depp heads, who have been on a sustained campaign to discredit her for years. I know all too well how despicable these keyboard warriors are, because they have relentlessly targeted me over the same period. Just one example of their depravity I've experienced personally. Depp's trolls spread the sick lie that I had been raped by a priest at a neighboring school to mine in New Zealand, rendering me as sympathetic to Heard because I had been damaged by sexual abuse in my own life. I mean, this is really funny. He's taking some deluded person, but there were other people who were actually very sane looking at this from the distance, and they were not that idiot judge in the UK who didn't even think of asking for proper, when there's something like this, there should be more asked and investigated. This sort of online campaign I remain subjected to even now pales into significance compared to the torment they unleash on Amber, a young mom. I really believe Amber had the child just to elicit sympathy. A young mom facing bankruptcy and career ruin if she loses the case every single day. The Depp heads cultists who stalk the courtroom and issue regular death threats have seen the Aquaman actress forced to increase her personal security. This trial has been an isolating experience for Amber, whose every facial expression and wardrobe choice is analyzed, compared to Depp, who treats his court appearances like a rock concert where he's greeted by giddy fans. The Depp heads effectively use social media, especially Twitter and TikTok, to brand Heard as crazy, a sentiment they have helped make acceptable. Amber was even attacked by these trolls online for wearing glasses in court as a sign of narcissism when in fact she needs them in order to read. The Scottish activist Eve Barlow, one of Amber's few champions in the media who has been supported her at the trial, correctly believes her friend is being re-traumatized. She told me, during Depp's disastrous libel trial in the UK, the world learned that he promised global humiliation for Amber Heard. By the way the US trial is being depicted in the media, it appears he has fulfilled his promise. Not only does the media bias continue to be wholly imbalanced in favor of Depp, with notable omissions from press coverage about very damning pieces of evidence against him, the social media landscape is shockingly brutal for Amber, with TikTok and Twitter especially becoming insensitive and oversimplifying platforms prone to spreading disinformation and misogynist hate. The live broadcast of this trial is highly dehumanizing and has resulted in obsessional nitpicking over Amber's wardrobe every day and her facial expressions as she's subjected to disproportionate criticism while Depp sits in court smiling, doodling and laughing with his counsel, backed by an army of vocal Twitter fans who are sat in the public gallery. It's a very re-traumatizing event and one that has the power to affect other survivors of abuse. But it's not only Amber's pals who have noticed the horror of what she's been put through again. Countdown star Rachel Riley, referring to Depp's court loss against me, tweeted yesterday, "There has already been a judgment showing Depp to be a monster." And this idiot wonders why Depp needed to clear, because the UK court, so you know, did not allow certain evidence to be introduced during that trial. They couldn't. They couldn't introduce, I believe, the tape, or correct me if I'm wrong, but they couldn't introduce the tape. They couldn't introduce other stuff. It was very much one-sided. How so many people can help him abuse his victim now is completely sickening. I can only imagine anyone defending him has not read this judgment and hopes no one else has either. No one in their right mind could defend this man. On the last day of Depp's trial against me in July 2020, Amber pleaded that she just wants to be allowed to move on with her life. It is Depp who's refusing her that opportunity. By the way, it's laughable to suggest the bloke has been cancelled. He remains the face of Dior's Sauvage, one of the very few, which is advertised on billboards everywhere, continues to be cast in movies. No, he wasn't. He was fired from pretty much every movie, and has traveled the world being lauded as at a host of film festivals. The fact Rowling finally dropped him from the Fantastic Beasts franchise was more to do with her embarrassment for her Hollywood hypocrisy, which I first pointed out when I wrote my original column. Johnny Depp is not a victim of cancel culture. He's a proponent of it. I will repeat. Johnny Depp is not a victim of cancel culture. He's a proponent of it. He tried to cancel me and failed in the London libel courts, and now he's trying to cancel Amber Heard in the US. Shame on him. So this is the man that many people are happy that the police are not going to investigate him and the case has been dropped. He got, in the very end, he was afforded the courtesy because he asked a judge to gag everybody so they wouldn't report on him or his life, because if you dig deep enough and you are prone to certain things, you will find something. So he asked the judge to gag everybody. This is why you didn't hear anybody talking about it, because he knew that his life was going to be over, just like he ruined Johnny Depp's life with that article. And the UK courts are a shitty place, clearly, because they allow people like Meghan Markle to commit perjury and call it a misremember. They allow a woman to eat in the court. So I ask you again, how innocent is Dan Wooton? He's just like Meghan Markle, as arrogant as Meghan Markle. And in my opinion, the reason why he has it in for Johnny Depp is because he dares sue him. And he was gloating like a pig because the courts in the United Kingdom did not allow certain evidence, and they believed everything Amber Heard said. So you tell me now, should you be happy about Dan Wooton? I'm glad that if he's innocent, he was not prosecuted, and he did not have to endure the media crucifixion that Johnny Depp endured at the hands of people like him. Because they destroyed his life for years. They destroyed his livelihood. They destroyed his home in many regards. And his children's home. And to this day, this man has not apologized. I don't know what to tell you. You tell me and leave me your comments, guys.